All right, in this concept, we're going to take a look at all the chord voicings that you're going to need to know to play a wide variety of country music. So first are all the open chords, or the cowboy chords. So when I say all open chords, I mean things like our C chord and our G and D and A and E, our A minor, our D minor, our E minor, any of your 7 chords in open position, G7, C7. Okay? All those chords you probably already know at this point. They're all the chords you first learned when you pick up a guitar. But we're going to use some of these chords, in particular the C, the A, the G, the E, and the D, to turn into movable chords. And that's where the cage system kind of gets its name. So you're taking some of these open chords and you're turning them into movable chords. First, so you can just move them around and play every chord you need. But also so you can visually use them as a template to build rhythm guitar parts around or solos around. So let's start with our C chord. So I got my C chord. Now if I just move this up on its own, all the open strings don't work anymore. Okay? So we got to be able to finger this in a way where we have a finger free to move all those open strings up along with it. So now I have my first finger free to kind of drag all those open strings up. And now I have a D chord up here. Now I could build a rhythm guitar part off of that. I could solo off of that. It's just a map for where all the chord tones are. I could arpeggiate through it. All right, let's look at some of the other ones. So the A, if I move that up, I have to move up the open string. So that probably looks very familiar to you as that. It's a very common bar chord. The next one, the G chord, I move that up to an A chord to pull all those open strings up. Now that's something that I normally wouldn't play like that because it's a little uncomfortable and I don't have really any freedom to kind of embellish that much. But I would play pieces of this. I would play maybe the top, maybe the middle, maybe the bottom. Okay, the next one is our E chord. So on the E chord, if I move that up and drag all the open strings, that's probably the first bar chord you learn there. Okay, and then the last one is our D chord. Now for this, I'm going to move up the 2 open strings on the bottom, my 5th and my root. Okay, again, not typically a chord I would play moving around like that. It's not that common to use that one. But you would use pieces of it. So I might use just that much or just this much for a rhythm guitar part, or I might use just the bottom there for a rhythm guitar part. Or if you ever play a D with your F sharp on the bottom, I might use something like that for a rhythm guitar part. Okay. All right. Now let's get into some of our 7 chords and 6 chords, all the stuff that we're going to need to use for cowboy music, Western swing, any kind of country jazz, the countrypolitan kind of Nashville sound stuff. So let's start with our major 7. And I'm going to show you 2 ways to play this stuff, one off the 6th, one off the 5th, so you'll be able to cover a lot of ground. So here is an A major 7. Now you need to know where the chord tones are here so you know what to change the quality. I got my root on the bottom, a 7 on the D string, a 3rd on the 3rd string, and the 5th on the 2nd string. Now I could turn that into a dominant 7 by lowering the 7 there. While I'm at that dominant 7, I could raise the 5th and make an augmented sound. Okay, I can lower the 7 again and get a major 6 chord. This is a great chord anytime you're supposed to be playing a major chord when you're playing, say, Western swing or cowboy tunes. Play a major 6 chord because it adds color without adding a dominant sound. Then a minor 7, that's a flat 3rd and flat 7. A minor 7 flat 5. And if I flat the 7 again, I get it diminished. Okay, let's take a look at those same chord qualities on a different set of strings. So let's do this maybe off of E. Okay, so I'm going to have a major 7. I could also have played this like that. I'm going to have a dominant 7. I could also have played it like that. I have my augmented 7. This actually doesn't have a 7 in it. If I were to play it up here, I can get the 7 and the augmented. Typically, when you're playing country tunes, that 7 gets left out. Okay, then I have my minor 7. Most typically is played like that, but you could also play it here. And then I have my half diminished and my full diminished. Okay, so we'll talk about later on how to use those chords and where some of those chords we can even use as inversions of other chords. But that's going to cover a lot of territory, knowing the key system, knowing our open chords, knowing our all our different kind of 7 chords and our 6 chord. It's going to allow us to do a lot of stuff harmonically.